good to see you all here today. We're here to talk quickly, and a quick talk about a program that is a new program in California that we have been trying to get the word out on. About a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago, my boss, Russ Weichel, who a lot of you know, called me into his office and said, there's some folks in Los Angeles at the California Film Commission that I would like you to meet because they're charged with putting together a program to connect film and television production companies to career readiness programs, both at the secondary level and also at the community college level. And so that's sort of a big, broad thing, connect how. And so I met with Nancy Ray Stone and Amy Lemish to talk about what their ideas were for this connection. How might these film and video production companies connect in terms of career readiness? And so we put together some guidelines, some ways that we thought that it would be useful for folks who were in the industry producing film and television to connect with high school students, high school teachers, and then statewide programs. And so if you, let's see, the California Film Commission, we worked together to put together some emergency guidelines, and those emergency guidelines have now been made final. And so we have had a number of experiences around the state where film production companies have been interacting with schools. It's all part of a tax credit program that I'm going to let Nancy explain.
Right. Thank you, Jack. About a year ago, the legislators in California passed a tax credit program for the state of California called AB 1839. As you may know, film and television production has been leaving the state in droves due to tax incentives all over the world. There's 40 states in the United States alone that have tax incentive programs. Canada has had one for a very long time. England has an amazing program, and so we've seen our major motion pictures and television production going to other states and taking with it a lot of talent, a lot of creative talent. So we've been basically outsourcing one of our signature industries, Hollywood, to the rest of the world. So we finally got enough statistics together to convince the legislators in Sacramento that we needed to do something about it. So about 7 years ago, the first tax credit program was created. It was a very modest program. It was $100 million a year of tax credits. So there was no money being given. It was just a credit against state tax liability for the studios. If you were an independent filmmaker, you could sell those credits to help finance your project. That program got re-upped twice, and now it's sunsetting. We went back to the legislators and said, hey, this program's been really, really successful. You know, with $700 million, we basically created, I think it's like $3.5 billion of economic development in the state of California. So it's a pretty good return on investment. Not to mention keeping people employed in the state of California. So with the support of legislators all over the state, we passed AB 1839, which is $330 million a year, and it expanded the program from cable television to television for any kind of distribution outlet, and from feature films with a cap of $75 million to any budget amount. There's just a cap on the qualified spend. The program is unlike, say, Louisiana and Georgia, which has very generous tax credit programs where they allow tax credits on above and below the line. So all the actors and directors and writers, they're getting tax credits on those folks. In California, they only get a tax credit on below-the-line workers. So it's really the craftspeople who are creating the project. Those are the ones whose salaries they're getting a tax credit on. So it's not quite as generous as other states, but you don't have to travel everybody all over the place. And you know if you need a crane, you can get one in 5 seconds. So most people want to stay in California. They love shooting in California. Now we have a tax incentive, and so in return for that tax incentive, the legislators said, what are we going to give back, what are we going to get for this tax incentive to help create the next generation of filmmakers? So this career readiness initiative was part of the bill, and these projects cannot get a tax credit unless they participate in this program. The program involves both high school and community colleges. And there's several different ways that with the help of Jack and our community college contacts, we figured out how can we do this. One of them is paid internships. And unfortunately for high schoolers, that doesn't work very well because you have to be 18 as a result of insurance and child labor laws and all of that. But there's other ways that both students and educators can be involved in this. There's classroom workshops where the filmmakers can go into the classroom and provide workshops for the students on any number of different topics, whatever it is that you're teaching. They can come and talk about it, and we're not talking necessarily about, you know, the directors, the writers, the producers. It could be the key grip comes and talks about, you know, what does it mean to be a grip? What does a costume supervisor do? What does a sound mixer do? I mean, there's all kinds of jobs on a film set that need to be filled, and we can get those types of key positions to come and talk to your students. There's also a studio employment and professional skills tour, which would provide students enrolled in high school the opportunity to come and, for instance, go to a studio and see what kinds of jobs are available in the studios. You know, they need accountants, they need coordinators, they need production managers, studio executives. I mean, there's all kinds of people who work in studios as well as on the set.
And we worked really hard to be sure that these were not your Universal Studios type of tours, that they are meaningful educational experiences. Disney, Universal, they have tours that they schedule outside of their traditional tours that are educator tours. But what we were asking here, what we were trying to design here is an opportunity for kids and teachers to actually be on a location or at a studio watching what happens, not something that's being staged for them, but production actually taking place. And so that, I think, is one of the unique pieces of the studio tour, which is one of the options.
Right. Just the other one that might be interesting to know about is a faculty externship. And this is to provide a minimum of 8 hours for educators to observe set operations, post-production, any kind of department that you're interested in. And I actually talked to a faculty member who did such an externship. I got a hold of him this morning, actually, and I asked him what his experiences were. And he basically, it's an 8-hour minimum, and he did an externship on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, if anybody watches that show. So that's a tax credit show. So he was able to work with them based upon his schedule. So he went 4 hours one day, well, it was 4 hours one day and 4 hours the next. He said it was actually on the set longer than that. He said that it was that everybody was incredibly supportive. He visited every department. He went around with the executive producer of the show. He really got a sense of how everybody was working together, and it gave him and informed him, like, what's the state of the art on a television show? How do all these people communicate? So it was really a great experience for him, and it's also been a great experience for the community college students who are able to intern as well.
And we did have a high school student intern that you sent me the other day.
Right.
There was a student who met the qualifying criteria where they were over 18 years of age, and they were able to do the paid internship. So if you go to the Arts, Media, and Entertainment website, which is that www.ca-ameschools.net, and you click on the California Film Commission, there is a description of each of the ways that a production company can earn this tax credit by interacting with schools. And they're on the handout that I gave you. The red on the handout is the actual specification, the regulation from the Film Commission that describes what that organization might do. And then below that are some examples of what that might actually look like at a school site. And so, for example, schools can make direct financial contributions. So they can say, I want to give Balboa High School, I want to earn the tax credit, I want to work with Balboa High School, so we're going to make a donation of 0.25% of our below-the-line budget to the school. They do that, they make their donation, they fill out the form work, they turn the form work into the Film Commission, and they get their tax credit. Okay? They can also, if they, let's say they want to do the classroom workshop, okay, they go online and they reach out to a educator and say, we'd like to do a classroom workshop on art direction. And so then they can send their art director to your school and do a day's workshop. They fill out the form work on the Film Commission website, and they earn their tax credit. So we have a lot of ways that they can interact. And I have here a sign-up sheet for any of you who would be interested in the externship program. Because once we got these ways that they can interact done, the challenge became, how do we make the connection? If I'm a production company, I don't deal with educators. I don't deal with local schools. If I'm shooting in Fresno, how do I know there's a teacher in Fresno who would be interested in an externship? And so on the website, there is for the teacher externship, for example, there is an Excel spreadsheet that has teachers, that lists the counties. So they can go through that, they can go to that Excel spreadsheet, sort by county if they're shooting in Fresno, and any teachers who have signed up for externship in Fresno, their contact information is there, and they can reach out and they can invite them to an externship, or they can ask to come into their classroom to do a presentation. So the challenge, I think, for us has been in this process is connecting the production companies to the actual school sites. And so I wanted Nancy to talk a little bit, because she has met with the production companies, and they've had gatherings like this, only probably bigger, with the representatives of production companies who are interested in earning this tax credit, but challenged to find out how they can interface with the educational system. So,
yeah, it's hard because, you know, if you're working on a production, you're so busy and you don't have any time, and you're worried about getting all the elements together in front of the camera. And oh, by the way, now you have to try and coordinate and find a teacher or interns or whatever. And I've had instances where people would say, look, we reached out, it was just too many back and forth emails, phone calls, and, you know, people in production, you know, it's got to happen like right away, and it's not necessarily that way when you're teaching in a high school or teaching in a community college. You can't always get back to someone immediately. So a lot of them just gave up. They just said, you know what, we can't do it, we're going to write a check, which is fine. Writing a check is very nice, and I know you can use that money wisely, but it doesn't give people the experiences that they want. I mean, I talked to kids who were interns. I mean, I have all my notes here. I mean, one woman said, you know, it was like a life-changing experience. I mean, for these kids to get on the set or to go to a professional sound studio and see somebody doing looping or whatever it is, I mean, it's really, really, it's those one-on-one connections that really can make a difference. And so Jack and I have been trying to brainstorm, how can we make it easier for a producer who says, I'm shooting a movie in the Bay Area, and you know, is there anybody interested in hearing a talk from the editor? You know, and how do we connect people quickly and easily? So I think the database idea on the website, you know, is one way. If I can get them to bother to go on the website and use the database.
Right.
You know?
And the other thing is it's a program that's a brand new program, and so the production companies are learning about it. The schools, you guys, are now just learning about it. How many have heard of this program before? Couple. Good. but most people don't know anything about this. And the question that I always get is, how do I contact a production company to, it doesn't work that way. The production company contacts you. It is a production company responsibility. And so we, on the educational side, really need to just make ourselves available and then put together an interface that is useful to them, not so much to us, but to them. So for example, at the community college level, is Sean in here? Yes. They have a whole internship website, okay? And the website is a really high quality website, but it is also not the easiest website to navigate, especially if I am a production company and I want to sign on to be matched up with an intern. I think as time goes on, production companies will sign up, then they will be available to be matched up with interns, community college students who do sign up, and high school students can sign up for that website as well. But it's a challenge to bring the two together. One of the things I wanted to do today is just be sure that everybody was aware of this and that we could take any questions or ideas that you might have about making this work. At the community college level, they have folks called sector navigators. And if you stay in this room, you're going to hear from a deputy sector navigator. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. And those folks are responsible for serving as education to industry liaisons. At the Department of Education, there's me. Okay? And so we have to be a little bit more clever about creating our interface so that it'll be easy for the production companies to make connections.
Yeah, like there's one community college, I think it's, I can't remember the name of it, but there is one community college, for example, that they have someone whose job it is to connect, is internships, find internships for their kids. So they have had pretty good success now in placing kids, their students, on sets because there is a point person. There's someone there who I can say to a production company, you know, call so-and-so at this college and she will set you up. And she does. And she reacts very quickly, sets it up so that on the other end you don't have production managers who have a million other things to take care of, having to always remember, oh, so-and-so never got back to me. Oh, I need to, okay, and they're like trading calls or whatever. You know, we have to find a way to make it easy for these people to connect with you, with educators and with the students, so that it's not a difficult process because they want to do this. They rather do this than write a check. But if they can't, if it can't happen quickly and easily, they're just going to write a check. So, any ideas people have about ways to do this? Yeah.
That's actually my job. Can a person be appointed at each county office of education in each county? I'm in Ventura County, guys, and I represent community colleges and high schools. I assume that is
right.
A similar situation at all the county offices.
Yes, and this information has been sent to all county offices, but it usually goes to the county superintendent. And unless you have lunch with the county superintendent, he doesn't know who you are, and you probably don't know him well. And so making one another aware of this option is not that easy. But that's definitely a way to do it. County offices, district people, anybody involved in linked learning programs. Most linked learning programs who have someone, are you working in a linked learning program? They have someone whose job it is to do this. And so we have sent out to the department sort of step back from linked learning in the last year, and so we don't track the linked learning programs like we did when we were providing funding for linked learning. So we don't know who the different job interface liaisons are with all the linked learning programs. But the linked learning schools have all been sent the information about the Film Commission specifically, and also from the AME website where they can go to find out more information.
ROP credentials of long ago, and are still in effect, came with insurance. If they're 6 the insurance would follow them. And so I was able to place students in, you know, with studios that, you know, that I had personally made contact with, and they were able to work with them. So can that not be something where the age can be lowered to the 16 if there's an ROP component
Did you?
for them?
I'm going to have to get more specific information. There was some legality about it, and also, I think it also had to do with child labor laws. If they were actually, like, we couldn't have unpaid interns. We had to have paid interns.
Well, and see, these, it started as an internship, and then they are now, as 16 and a half, they're getting paid
Mhm.
to now work with the production company, so they come and do their academics, and then instead of coming to the ROP class, they go and they work.
It's like a community classroom setup for the traditional ROP.
Right. But the reason they get to do that is because I have the ROP credential, the insurance, which is Ventura County, the insurance follows those kids, which allows them to work for the companies, to work for the
Production companies.
Right.
studios.
Right. Well, that's definitely something we should
Yeah.
take a look at,
Mhm.
because when we had the initial conversation, initially Nancy's idea was that the internships would be open to all. And for me, I was thinking primarily partnership academies. Those folks are required by law to have internship, to provide internships. And I thought, boy, this is great. And then we ran up against, the production companies ran up against the fact that if the students weren't 18, then they had to provide tutors on the set. They had to do all of those different things that made it, you know, not efficient to have students who are under 18.
This ROP has sort of bridged that,
Okay,
at least for the students that I have working at a studio.
okay. Well, that's definitely good to know, so.
Yeah, that's doing it.
It is? It's the community classroom? Yes?
I just have a question about the companies that give money to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Does it need to be directed toward media and
Yes.
education studies?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, they can give, several companies have donated to the Department of Education, because they can give to a larger entity as well. And one of the things that we promise them when they give us money, and that we report back to them, is how that money was used to serve students interested in careers in film. And so, yeah, it would have to be targeted. And when you take a look at the form, I don't know if we have any of the forms up.
We also have had companies that have said, oh, you know, my child goes to Calabasas High School, can we just, you know, give them a check directly? And that's allowed as well. If there's a specific high school or community college they want to give to, they're allowed to do that.
I guess if you could talk also maybe a little bit more about the database.
Okay, yeah, that's mine. So what we did was we sent out to our listserv, the people who have signed up for the CDE AME listserv, information about this program when it was launched, which was about, it was last July or something.
July
was it?
1st.
Right.
yeah.
We sent out an email to all the folks on the listserv with this template, asking them if they were interested to fill out the template and email it back to my office. Okay, and we got 4 responses. All right,
Yeah, it's just not reaching.
and so it is available on the website, and I'm hoping that folks, we're going to give you time to come and sign up now. So I hope you will come and sign up now.
On the website, though, what is it? Is it just like a form? Like
It's a clickable link,
Oh, okay, so just a link to
right?
download that?
To
It's
yes.
And
not
then
showing
just-
up there, is it supposed to show
Oh.
up?
It was an attachment, wasn't it?
Oh,
It was an attachment, and they sent it on December 28th.
okay.
To the road, yeah. And it's attached on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to. send it back
What?
to you,
Was it? Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, we
There are
did
some
get,
of us, yeah, who don't receive that, so.
okay, we did get
So we
some
just go
back.
to the website and
Right.
then download.
Well, and all of you who come to this conference, we now have your email address, and so you will be added to the listserv, and so you will get these from us. But please, by all means, take the time, and I have several copies. You can fill it out and leave it on the table or give it to me, and we will get you into that database so that the production companies can find you.
Does it say what their specialty area is?
Yes. Okay, so what it asks you for is your county, your district, your school, who you are, your email address, your phone number, the classes you teach, and your availability. Okay, that way if I'm a production company and I want to get Al Gaines from East Bakersfield High School, I know that he teaches computer graphics and media arts. And so if I have, let's say that my production company is there and we're doing some promotional work, that might be an appropriate externship for him. And so I have all his contact information and also his availability. And so I could reach out to him and invite him to come and be part of our career readiness program.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful too, not only write what you teach, but maybe what you're really interested in learning. Because these people who are trying to find you, they don't know how to take what you teach and translate it into what are you really interested in finding out from production. Are you interested in being in the editing room? Are you interested in being on the set? Do you want to bring your students to talk to the electrical and grip department? What kinds of things do you see needed in your classrooms or for you personally that you would like to know more about? Because they need ideas, so you know what you need. Tell us what you need, and that way we can better match you up.
Yes?
Will this program exist for the foreseeable future?
How many years? 3?
Well, the tax credit program is funded for the next 4 years, and we're hoping it will get re-upped. And it'll get re-upped. It should get re-upped because it's working brilliantly. We are attracting a lot of production back to the state, but we certainly rely on the legislators in the individual counties to go and vote. Mm-hmm. So certainly, if you get a chance to participate in this program, and it's a successful experience for you, tell your legislators, that you're really benefiting from this program, your kids are benefiting from this program, and they will vote for it again, and it will continue.
Yes, Marcy.
I have kind of two questions. For the tours and the workshops, it says on the documentation, community college enrollment. So,
Well,
can high school students
yes.
participate in that? Or do I have to have them dual enrolled kind of thing?
It's high school or community college students. Yeah, it's either
Okay,
one.
So, yeah, because I saw that on the website, and like right here, enrolled in a
Right. I see it.
college, yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like, do I have to go dual enrolled?
No. You don't. You don't. You don't. Okay, that's a modification that we need to make because the regulation says
Yeah.
high school or community college. In almost each of these options that are in the regulations, it's high school or community college, high school or community college. Yes?
And then I had a second question I saw online where it mentioned some financial numbers for the direct donations. So we see, being in Northern California, a lot of independent film as opposed to the studios. What type of tax credit dollar value or something like that we could use that equates over to their work doing in the workshops or doing the studio tours?
Okay, for the first year of the program, the financial contribution was $3,000 for independents and $5,000 for non-independents. Starting July 1st, any projects that get into the program now have to give 25% of their estimated tax credit reservation. So it could be a minimum of $5,000 up to $12,000. So we're trying to make it so that it's more equitable. If you're getting a lot of tax credits from the state of California, you can afford to pay more. So, you could be getting
Right.
a $12,000 donation.
Right. And we also, one of the reasons that adjustment was made was the real goal of the program is to involve students and teachers in the film production process. The donation is really nice, and I'm sure you guys are all going, you're out of your mind, the donation is what we want. But I think that from a career readiness perspective, actually getting teachers and students involved with the production company is where we want to put our time. And so $5,000, there were a lot of companies who just went, oh, $5,000, I'll do that. But so Nancy and I talked, and the idea was to raise that a little bit so that there might be other options that were more cost-effective and would benefit us, the educators, more than that direct donation.
Right. Yeah, I think writing a $12,000 check might hurt more, and they might be more willing to do a little bit more work to get students or educators involved.
Yes.
Do they write a check directly when they donate the money? Do they send it to the district or to the school site?
It's an agreement between the teacher and the production company. And so it would go to the schools. It depends on your district. I mean, your district will say how it actually has to come. But the form that they have to fill out and submit to Nancy in order to get the tax credit identifies where the money is going, how it's going to be spent, and who the contact at the school site is. Yes?
Well, how about the workshops and guest speaking? Is this the same database, or you have a different database?
Well, we do need a different database.
Yeah, we've used the California Partnership Academy database to start with, but eventually we will need to expand the database to include all of the people who, at the very minimum, are on our listserv, but all of those folks who have, and then locals have databases as well. I know that county offices have their own contact information for folks, and they very often have much more particular contact information than we do at the Department of Education. And so, again, putting together this interface is really the tricky part. Yes?
Your database basically shows where we live and work, but what if we can go much farther than that to do an externship? I've done externships 200 miles away from where I live. I'd be happy to do that. Is that included in your database, is what our range would be?
You can, yes, as a matter of fact, one of the people who did the database, maybe, have you signed up for this already?
I don't know, you just said my name, so.
Oh, did I? Did you fly? You fly? Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, and so Al included in his information, and it's not on here because there wasn't space, that he flies, and that he could do an externship anywhere. And so in that database, yes, that is included. When they look at the whole thing, that whole long line where you told what you could do is listed there.
Right, so also, because with the availability, that's, sometimes it's like a month-to-month thing.
Sure.
What do I have, what am I doing this month?
And that's one of the challenges, right?
So, we would just try to
Well, don't-
articulate it as best as
Yeah.
clearly as possible.
I mean,
like
don't forget, a
before,
normal
weekends.
feature film will be prepping maybe for 3 to 4 to 5 months, and then they'll be shooting for maybe, 70 days, and then there's post-production. So there's a long period of time when you could schedule something.
And then the other thing that we're trying to get those folks to understand, Nancy was talking to me about this a while ago, was that a lot of them wait, because this is sort of a new thing for them, they'll wait until they're done, pretty much, with their production. And then they'll go, oh, that tax credit thing, we need to do that. And so they're not doing principal photography anymore. They're not doing editing. They're not in pre-production anymore. And so they are limited then to doing the financial donation. But I think that as the program becomes more widely known, they'll go, okay, we're starting this production now. We know we're applying for the tax credit. And so let's reach out to these, let's assign, fourth assistant director X to research local programs that might be interested in having us come and engage with them. Yes?
Are the county film commissions kind
Not really, because we hear about, obviously we're reserving the tax credits for these shows, so we know what's going on. Once we admit a show into the program, we let them know this project has said they're going to be filming in Mendocino County. So we let them know that. I don't know then if they're hooked up with local educational facilities there, high schools or whatever, if they're familiar with that, I don't know. And that might be another way we could reach
Right.
out.
That's almost a possible mechanism.
Right.
Like a single point of contact.
And that would be if, in fact, every county had a person like you. And that's not, I mean, most of the counties that have someone like you are the CCPT grant recipients.
Or close to the center.
Right. Yes, Marcy?
Janet, is there funding for transportation for students to do like the production tours?
No.
Okay.
No.
Never any field trip money anymore.
Not as part of this program. Okay, it would have to be part of your field trip money, the money that you set aside for career readiness. Yes?
I was just wondering if the production companies are given any guidance on what makes for a good internship or the quality of the classroom workshop they have in mind, or is that left up to the educator?
Well, it's kind of left up to, I think, the educator talking to the production company and saying, this is what we're interested in learning. Most, production people, like I had a producer call me and said, oh yeah, I can go give a talk, and whether, I haven't yet had been able to see, like, people who were at that talk, how successful it was, but certainly, the more that we can tell them what it is that educators want or the interns want, the better, to help them, because they don't know.
And on the website that the production companies are seeing as well, it says below are some examples. Industry professionals, including below the line department heads and crew, are invited to give guest lectures, classroom demonstrations, reaching a larger audience by presenting at a state or regional conference. Production companies can structure an 8-hour examples of lectures. A cinematographer visits a classroom and gives insights into new technologies being implemented in the camera department. Editors show students how to do parallel editing in 3-camera session. So there are suggestions here, but it's by no means limited to that. They can, whatever they feel that they can present and that they have someone ready to do that presentation, they're able to do. And again, that is one of the things we want to do, is connect those production companies to those educators so that there is conversation that takes place. Now, both people are rushed. I mean, I was in that classroom, and I know that you don't have time to sit for hours on the phone talking to someone. And the person on the production end is probably more harried than you are. But at the same time, if no conversation takes place, no interaction takes place. And for career readiness to be legit, to be authentic, there has to be interaction between the professionals and the educators. Other questions? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's a role for, since I work at the Arts Commission, some kind of, since we work with 81 school districts in LA County, and we also have industry partners like Creative Future that has 300 arts and entertainment organizations as part of it. Is there some way to envision a way to broker this, first of all, to promote it to the production companies so that they know what's going on in a better way, and then also to partner with you to get the educator piece in place so that folk are going to the website and that kind of thing? I mean, do you see that kind of energy needed to be applied?
Well, I can tell you that I need all the help I can get. And I think that it's very possible that the county offices, we have a county art leads meeting every 4 per year, one every quarter. And this has been presented twice at the county art leads meeting. Okay? But very often the county art leads are VAPA people. They're not career tech ed people. And so the VAPA people at the county office don't talk to the career tech ed people at the county office. And this is exactly what happens when we share information to a county office. The same thing happens at the district level. Those of you, I was from LA Unified. I know that there's a lot of stuff that's shared with LA Unified that never trickles down to the classroom level. And so Greg, I think the important thing is for us to partner with everybody. I mean, for all of you who know about this, to share this information with your particular constituents. How many districts?
81.
81 districts, and let them know that this program exists. Here are some of the things that they can do to be proactive, get themselves enrolled in the database and provide their information, and then make all of their teachers aware of the various options that are available so that when a production company comes calling, they are there and they know what's being talked about and they can offer up some examples for interaction with the production company.
And advocate to LACO to get a full-time position.
Yes.
Liaison.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you and I should probably have a discussion after this.
Okay. Yes.
It just seems a little bit ad hoc if the production companies are just sort of choosing schools and choosing from these lists. I mean, in terms of like equity, and like, I mean, you said if the cinematographer's son goes to Calabasas, so they decide, okay, they're going to do it there. You know, I mean, there's no provision for equity or.
Well, the challenge with that is it could be, I mean, we're putting together, with the money that comes to the Department of Education, we're putting together a grant program. And that grant program, because it's a department program, has to be disseminated in an equitable fashion.
Right.
But you can also imagine, if you're talking about any of these options, you're really, if all of them had to go to grant, there would be no interaction with educators, because that process is so costly. One of the things that we're hoping to do, because they're being encouraged to provide the service, the career readiness service, in the department in the location where they're actually shooting. So if they go to Mendocino, well, that would be an opportunity for those folks who are signed up in Mendocino County to have access to these funds. But yeah, it is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I give, every show that gets in the program has to come for an orientation. And on their application, they say what counties they're filming in. So one thing that would be helpful for us, and we can work together on this, is say if I know a show is shooting in Orange County or Ventura County or Mendocino County, to actually have a list with me so I can hand it to the production manager and say, here, this is a local school. They'd love to be a part. Call any of these people. They're interested.
Mm-hmm.
That would really like cut short the steps needed to make it happen.
Right.
So that might be a way to get to them directly with very specific lists of schools in counties and in areas so that it's easier for them to make the connections they need directly with you and your schools.
Right, but the problem is that they could use the existing California schools database. Challenge is that half the schools don't have film programs. Right. And so they need to know which schools
right.
are the ones that they could contact in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're talking about how we can get production companies to contact the teachers. What if we know of a production that's going to happen in our county? We want to reach out and we want to, pounce on the ball and say, look, we have a film class here. We want to be involved. Get a tax credit. Come to us. Is it possible for it to go the other way?
Well, yeah. First, you have to see if it is a tax credit show. So you could always go to the California Film Commission website, and we list every single production company and the name of the show that has gotten a tax credit.
Okay.
So that's,
okay.
Yeah, so that's one way. If you hear about something coming in, you could check our website, and you could certainly there's contact names and numbers on that list. You could certainly contact them directly and say, we're the local school. We know you have a career readiness requirement. Hey, we're interested. Certainly.
Okay. Yes.
Well, but we cold call all the time for like field trips and tours. Just email them this link maybe? Would that help? Like, I don't know, would that help them if they knew what that was? Or is there a letter we can send them?
To send to the production companies?
Yeah. Field trips. We said, hey, by the way, you guys know about this.
Well, I mean, if the companies that are enrolled in the program are listed on the film. You could definitely go to that film commission website and say, and send letters to them saying, we are, we realize that you're enrolled in a career readiness program. We are the educators in your area that are interested in participating with you.
I'm sure the guy in college is gonna know about all this, because he emailed me.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're,
Out of time?
are we at the end of our time? Yes. And so there are several of these. You can go ahead and take them and pass them out. And if you're going to stay right here, a person who is a sector navigator and whose job it is to connect educators and industry is going to be doing the next session here in this.
Yeah.